I mean, with all this major geopolitical uncertainty in Europe vis-a-vis Ukraine, Russia, and the EU, the UK, and then Latin America, China. I mean, what do you do as an investor, let's say, going forward in the next 12 months? Seems like a very dangerous path ahead.
Well,
Monaco 64, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. Well, today I have the pleasure of speaking with Simon Hunt. We haven't spoken in a while. Simon is a consultant and strategist on the global economy, geopolitics, China, and copper as well. Simon, welcome back.
thank you very much for having me. Look forward to it.
Me too. And I was telling you that it's raining quite hard here, and you said that in Dubai it's raining for the first time in a year, and you
It's
told me that
it's not raining just now. We had
yeah,
rain earlier today and
yeah.
yesterday, and apparently the weekend's going to be storms.
And you were telling me that last year the government there geoengineered, they seeded the clouds too much, and you had floods. So there goes that conspiracy theory that there is no weather modification, right?
Yeah, in the process, the floods were at car showroom levels, so destroyed all the expensive Ferraris, Lamborghinis, so on and so forth.
Yeah, maybe.
Obviously, cost the insurance companies billions and probably told the government, don't do it again.
Yeah, I know, I know. So, yeah, I was thinking before we came on what to talk about. And to me, even though we're not really technically at war, it feels like I wasn't around back then, but I've read about it, but it feels like the period between 1942 and 44, where when they were trying to reorganize the whole world's trade, monetary, and financial architecture which led, of course, to the Bretton Woods agreement in 1944. But I think they started looking into it like in 1942 because they expected something to change. And it feels like that today to me. And I couldn't think of a better person to talk about this than you. And the first question I have is about the frozen assets that the EU and the UK and the US, they've frozen all these Russian assets that, and now things seem to be heating up. It looks like Putin wants to retaliate. I see an article here in the FT. Putin's retaliation threat over frozen assets rattles EU capitals. Italy, Belgium, and Austria worry about Russia moving against their company. So maybe we start with this story.
Yeah, I think I think actually we need to talk about the global um, uh, security architecture because whether it's in the Ukraine, the Middle East, or Latin America, it does not look as if there will be any imminent peaceful outcome. So let's start, since you mentioned the freezing of Russian assets in Euroclear, let's start with Ukraine. There's a lot of optimism that there will be a peace resolution signed any moment now. Everything I pieced together from friends in Moscow and others who know the situation extremely well, that is highly unlikely. What is the situation? So far, the provisional agreement that the EU and America seem to have put together are totally unacceptable to Russia. Russia is breaking through the whole of the 1,000-kilometer front line in Ukraine. They are, if they've not already started surrounding and attacking Odessa, they will do so very soon, and they will take Odessa. After Odessa, they will take Kiev. They will take whatever Russia wants for their future security. Then they will say to America, now we are prepared to negotiate, but we negotiate on our terms. So I think there's going to be a lot of disappointment over the next few weeks that there will be no early peace treaty in Ukraine. And just to add salt into the wounds, as it were, Larry Fink has been brought into Trump's negotiating team because they're talking about, oh, our companies are going to do the reconstruction and 50% of the profits are going to go to America and Europe. Well, if you're controlling the territory and you're the victor, don't tell me that's going to happen. It ain't. Russia will say reconstruction will be on our terms with our companies and our BRICS friends, period.
So it's a
So
big,
there
big,
is
big,
a,
big loss for the for BlackRock and all the money
yeah,
that the US and the EU pumped into Ukraine. I guess that's why they wanted say over it, right?
yeah, they want to say because they've got very large exposure to mortgages from the big landowners.
Is it in Japanese yen, the mortgages?
You are a better person to answer that question than me.
I'm just joking anyway. I
Yeah.
was thinking about the carry trade, but sorry I interrupted you.
No, 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 no problem.
So Putin will say "niet" to that.
We'll say yes to what?
"Niet."
Oh, yet. Yeah, yeah,
"Niet."
absolutely. Yeah, they've said it already. And then, I mean, he has made it very clear that any negotiations take place through the official channels. And the official channel is Russia's Secretary of State, Sergei Lavrov, and his counterpart, Rubio. They've not even started. So, there's going to be no imminent peace proposal, and that is going to be a negative for markets because a lot of hope has been built into, oh, there's a peace deal around the corner. Great for European business activity and stock markets.
Yeah, and I see that the UK is so desperate that they're trying to take £2.5 billion from Roman Abramovich and saying that he needs to give it to the Ukraine. But I mean, from what you tell me, I mean, you follow this a lot closer than I do, what's going on in Ukraine and vis-a-vis that conflict. from what you tell me, that war is pretty much over. And I think Zelensky must be kicking himself for listening to Boris Johnson back in April of 2022. Looks like now there will be no Ukraine left, and
It's
it's going to be a huge.
yeah.
I mean, how is that? Can you tell us how that's going to affect the EU and the UK financially? Because already we're in bad shape financially. This is going to be even worse because I think the markets, investors they've all been told, oh, Putin is going to be gone soon. It's going to be great. We're going to reconstruct Ukraine. There's going to be money for everyone. But it looks like that's all being turned on its head. So before we proceed further with the interview, I just want to give a shout out to Dirty Man Safe. So with traditional safes, their so-called advantage is that criminals can't break into them. But Dirty Man Safe is different. Its advantage is that it's undetectable, so they can't even try to break into it. And that's only one of the many features of Dirty Man Safe. They provide three different sizes, and you can bury your gold coins, silver coins, bars, important documents, jewelry, and anything that's valuable for you. So yeah, Dirty Man Safe is affordable, convenient, provides you peace of mind, confidentiality, and sustainability. So if you want to find out more, there's a link below in the description. It will take you to a landing page. And if you use that link, you get 10% off if you were to decide to buy a Dirty Man Safe. And they ship it to Europe as well, not just the United States.
Well, I think, where are we, 2025? Within 5 years, there won't be a EU. How then Ukraine fits into the European security architecture? This is one of the basic demands that Putin has made since June 2024. There's no point just talking about Ukraine. We have to discuss the future architecture, security architecture of the not only Europe, but Eurasia. From that will fall out what happens to Ukraine. This has not even been mentioned yet.
Yeah, and I think that goes back to the early 90s when the Americans promised the Soviets or Russians that NATO wouldn't go an inch past Germany.
That's right.
And
That's right.
I mean, that's what it's all about, isn't it?
Yeah, sure, sure.
So, yeah. And economically, I mean, we're already in bad shape here in the UK and also the economies in the EU. How do you think the loss of Ukraine and all all the expectations of like EU, European companies benefiting from a victory there, what it's going to have on the markets, and also these $300 billion of frozen funds, how's that going to impact European debt? And what do you think is going to happen to these funds?
I think Europe will be in recession next year. Um, if the EU continues to freeze Russian assets, Russia's already said, I can't remember the figure, but the European companies have got something like 200 billion of assets in Russia still. They will confiscate those. But the bigger issue is Russia has Putin has decided that our future does not lie with the West nor with Europe. We are focusing on the East, on Siberia, the Arctic. That's where our future growth is. We've got huge natural resources there. We've got all the large populations of the Stan countries in that region. And Siberia at the moment is booming. So, really, I mean, China's done the same. Look at China's exports to America, how sharply they've fallen, but they've picked up exports elsewhere. So that China now has record ever exports.
Yeah, I saw the other day they had a first time a trillion dollar trade surplus.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And what about all the talk in London, Paris, and Berlin about how Russia wants to invade Europe and how we have to
Oh,
prepare?
bullshit.
Yeah,
Excuse
prepare for.
me.
But they're trying to scare the public to prepare
Oh,
for
it's
war.
it's
It's not gonna
it, it's a
work, is it?
con trick, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
Just as I mean, I heard reliably through the back channels that that the UK has sent an undisclosed number of troops, flown them. I'm not sure whether it was to Latvia or Estonia. Is this the start of NATO building up for a major false flag operation? Probably.
Yeah, that concerns me, a false flag, because there's no support within from the public anywhere
No,
in Europe
no,
for war, so
no.
they need to justify it, and that's why a false flag. Yeah,
Well,
that's why it worries me.
yeah, I mean, it also, if it's a big enough false flag, it's to bring America back into the equation, either just with satellite technology or with military equipment or even special forces. I mean, we know that there have been American special forces in Ukraine throughout the war.
So let's, I mean, we are spoiled for choice geopolitically. So let's go over to the Western hemisphere, Mr. Monroe's hemisphere, and talk about Venezuela. And maybe you could talk about this national security strategy paper that came out a week or two ago from the US, which is quite significant, and how that's intertwined with what's happening in Venezuela.
Yeah, it's a very, very good question. Um, the guts of the national security um, strategy is to focus, sorry, I'm seeing, is to focus um, American policy on its own country and on what is nicknamed the backyard, namely Latin America. What these document also, in blunt terms, implies is that Latin America is our backyard. We will dominate politically and economically, and that you, China, get out. The problem is that a couple of days after the publication of the American strategy report, strangely enough, China produced their own annual report on their policy in Latin America, and which it did the report never mentioned America by name, but it stated very clearly our continued investment and trade deals with Latin America. So then this brings us to Venezuela, because Venezuela is going to be the test case. And what I understand, though China and Russia have has support for Venezuela, Russia has stated that they won't get involved should America attack one way or another the country. China will probably be very quiet and remain very diplomatic. But both Russia and China have supplied Venezuela with defensive missile equipment. Now, I don't know what. Early this morning, I was receiving reports from America that Congress has approved a war with Venezuela. I don't know whether that's right or wrong, but it is pretty clear that America, either by blockading Venezuela or most likely there are CIA black operations in the country. So a combination of probably first starting to the CIA to do their usual dirty work, followed with the blockade. And if that is not enough to cause regime change, then the American troops will come in. How it's going to play out, I've no idea. But the message to the rest of Latin America will be very clear. Do we want to throw away 20 odd years of business deals, development of infrastructure, and trade deals that have benefited both Latin American countries and China? Do we want to throw that away and have as a partner that whose underpinnings will certainly be political as well as trade? It's going to be very interesting to see how Latin American countries react. I had to guess, I think that they will go with their business partner.
Yeah, and I think with the exception maybe of Milei in Argentina, most Latin American leaders right now, they must be kind of not too happy with what's going on vis-a-vis Venezuela. And you spoke about, yeah, the national strategy, security strategy. It says in that paper as well that the main competitor of the United States, of course, is China. And y- the paper says the Western Hemisphere, that's our business, the Monroe Doctrine. But so that implies that everywhere else in the world is not it shouldn't be America's business. But I saw this morning, this article just came out about an hour ago in the FT, and I'll bring it up for you. It says U.S. approves $11 billion arms sales to Taiwan, which happens to be in China's backyard, which officially the U.S. still recognizes as part of the People's Republic, the One China policy. So I don't think the Chinese are going to be too impressed with this, especially with what's going on in Venezuela. They could say, well, we can intervene there too because you're intervening in our backyard.
Well, I think it's even deeper than that because there is certainly in Washington's eyes, there is this 1 year truce with China. But then they come up with their national security strategic study and say, China, we don't want you in Latin America. I mean, everything that I piece together, in China's eyes, there is no truce. If you look at the small print of the rare earths and magnet exports, um, China will not export them to any company involved in producing military equipment. And they are preparing themselves for the time when that inverted commas 1 year truce expires, which is second half of next year. They're preparing for the worst to happen.
By the worst, you mean like some kind of
Like like
war with the U.S.? How would that look?
by worst, I mean escalation of tensions between the two countries.
Yeah, so
And that has an impact on domestic policy now, which is that they will probably hold back any big stimulus until the second half of next year.
that's the Chinese, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
And I mean, with all this major geopolitical uncertainty in Europe vis-a-vis Ukraine, Russia, and the EU, the UK, and then Latin America, China. I mean, what do you do as an investor, let's say, going forward in the next 12 months? Seems like a very dangerous path ahead.
well, it it's a very it will be a very dangerous and volatile equation to navigate through. And my advice is basically on any uptick, um, use the upticks to prepare for really bad times to start appearing in late 2027, 2028. Because that, in starting in the second half of next year, we have long bond yields like the 10-year Treasury starting to motor upwards. And by the time you get into 2027, inflation will be over 8% in America and globally. And probably by the time we get to the end of 2027, inflation will be in double-digit figures. What do the bond vigilantes do, which you know better than I do? And what will that mean with bond yields of 10% plus? It's going to destroy a heavily indebted global Western world global system.
Yeah,
So,
so
so basically, I'm saying to people who ask me, if you are invested, any uptick, take your money off the table and prepare for the bad times.
an uptick, you mean uptick in stock and bond prices, I guess?
Yeah.
Yeah. What about having taking some of that money or cash that has been liquidated and putting into physical gold and silver outside the system? Do you think that's a good? I think that's a good idea,
That
personally.
is a very, very good idea.
Yeah, yeah. And you see that.
But outside the banking system.
That's right. Yeah, and you see that even I'm hearing a lot. You might know better than I do, being in the Middle East, that a lot of the Gulf cooperation countries, there there's a rivalry amongst them to run like the silver market for China going forward for the BRICS, and that they've been buying a lot of COMEX futures and taking delivery. So, have you heard about that?
No, I don't follow silver closely. I
Yeah,
have heard, yeah, but
yeah,
I
yeah.
don't follow silver
What
closely.
about copper? Because copper is usually a good indicator for the economy and it's near all-time highs. But from what you tell me, there's a lot of uncertainty. Is it more because commodities are going to become so hard to get in this environment? Because prior to now, or before 2020, for example, America could just buy things from anyone with the dollar, but it looks like de-dollarization. I mean, it's not going to stop in this coming environment.
Well, on copper is basically a function of business activity, hence the nickname Dr. Copper. On our work, we've actually we had prices going up to 11,900, which they did. They may well hit the 11,900 before year end, if not a little bit higher, purely for positioning for year end valuations. But then we have copper falling below 7,000 into the third quarter of next year. What's that telling you about business activity? Exactly.
Yeah,
Then, under our base case scenario, that's when we start getting second half of next year the big pick up in inflation, and then you will have um, financial institutions hedging inflation and a falling dollar. One of their hedges is always been copper. So it's the pickup in prices, which we will see into late 2027, when we will have copper at around $14,000, a doubling in the price from our lows. It'll be driven by financial institutions, less by the physical trade.
it's more of a reflects stagflation, I guess, more
Yeah,
than
it is
anything.
stagflation. But there is another little um, twist to this whole new monetary period that we're going to enter into. A close friend of mine was in the DRC for 3 months looking at various things and talking to a senior government official. the government official said to my friend, we soon will not be paying for our diesel fuel with dollars. We will be paying for it in copper and cobalt.
Yeah, that
Now, if I go back to the 1950s, because my father was involved in this, when there was being built what was then the longest high voltage transmission line between the Belgium Congo and what was then Northern Rhodesia. It was all financed not in dollars, but in copper.
yeah, and who said that copper isn't money anymore?
Exactly. I think this is the sort of change we are going to see in the world
Yeah, I guess it's
over the next 5, 10 years. I mean, not immediately.
yeah, and we're seeing that already. I mean, I think Iran bought tea from Burma or Myanmar with gold or something. You know, there's already some kind of transactions like this going, and I think it's a symptom of the fact that the paper dollar, you know, financialization is coming to an
Well,
end.
it's not only the dollar, it's all the fiat currencies,
That's right. That's right. I agree because
which is what
they're
which is
all
what BRICS is going to do with their new currency.
yeah, and that's why they've been buying so much gold, and now they're
Yeah,
starting to buy
yeah.
silver as well, quite a bit. Yeah, it was really a good talk uh, this afternoon, Simon.
My pleasure.
Yeah, even though things seem to be very rocky going forward, but it's better to know what could be coming than just put your head into the sand and think that
Exactly. Yeah.
everything is okay. But any final words for the viewers, Simon, as we go into the end of the year?
Well, I think don't trust markets. Prepare for the really bad times that are going to start appearing late 2027 and in 2028.
Great. Thank you, Simon, and I wish you a Merry Christmas and a happy and prosperous New Year.
And a very happy Christmas to you and a healthy and prosperous 2026 to you and your followers.
Thank you. Yeah, healthy, that's important as well. Thank you.